Okay, right. So we've discussed all other marketing mix variables, including the extended marketing mix variables, and I'm going to take this opportunity to discuss the promotional tools, and this will be our last topic. And next week, our main purpose is to discuss the assessments, giving you the opportunity to drop in. And so I don't think it will record the one next week. Okay. Okay. Now, promotion. Let's have a look at the term. Okay. Promotion comes from the word promovere. Okay. That means, to move forward. Okay. And in the context of marketing, when it comes to move forward, that means we need to convince the other party. Okay, we need to convince the other party so we can move forward the product, service, or ideas to the other party. Okay, or if you look at that, in other words, it includes the communication elements in it. Okay, otherwise, how can we convince the other party to the other party? Okay, therefore it contains the communication element. Okay, in other words, promotion. The essence of promotion is communication. All right. So we discussed in module 1 that marketing is the process of creating, communicating, and delivering. Okay. Offerings that has value for customers in our exchange process. Okay, so now this is the communication element. Okay, now if you go back to the marketing process that we discussed some time ago, we said that marketing contains several steps. In brief, if you use the word, if you use the acronym ART-PI or the one that I discussed with you, we start with the word understand, and then we create, and we communicate, and we deliver. Okay, so we have so this is the communication component, right, before we deliver what we promise for the customers. Okay, right, now let's have a look at the word communication itself. Okay, so so please bear in mind that when it comes to promotion, the essence of promotion is communication. Let's have a look at the word communication. It comes from another Latin word, communis. Okay, which is basically to create commonness. Okay, quite close. Okay, so commonness, right? Why is that? Well, because when two parties communicate, let's say we have A and we have B. Okay, this is A and the other one is B. Okay, when these two parties communicate, that they are trying to create commonness among the two of them. Okay, so the commonness in this diagram is represented by the overlapped area. Okay, so the more we communicate, the larger the area of commonness between us. Okay, so that's communication. Okay, right. So with that, we actually say the promotion actually has been relabeled into what we call as marketing communication, because the essence of promotion is communication, and we discussed that in the context of marketing. Then it has become marketing communication. All right. So please bear that in mind. That essentially when we say marketing communication or when we say promotion, it is actually the essence is communication. Okay. Now, the other thing that I'd like to highlight is in marketing, we also understand that our communication should be consistent. Okay, should be consistent, compelling. Okay, and focused. Okay, and focused to the audience. Right. We can't use one promotional tool or one marketing communication tool to say something, and we say the other thing using the other marketing communication tool or promotional tool. Right. In other words, that leads us to what we call as integrated marketing communication. Okay, we want all promotional tools to be integrated to achieve the same goal. Okay, so in other words, if you look at our concept promotion, it has been relabeled into what we call as IMC, or integrated marketing communication. Right now, I also noticed that some businesses in Australia have relabeled. They used to call the staff to be promotion manager. Now they call this title as, they relabel this title as marketing communication manager instead. Okay, right. So that's marketing communication. Okay, or promotion. Okay, so in a nutshell. Now, what are the tools that we need to consider when it comes to promotional mix? Okay, we have this laundry list of tools that we can use in our promotional campaign. Okay, in our integrated marketing communication campaign. Okay, some other authors suggest there are 5 tools that include advertising. Okay, PR, public relations, personal selling. Okay. Sales promotion, okay, and direct digital marketing. Okay, so 5 major tools, right? Look, at least for your assessment, you use these 5 tools, or if you want to expand to the other ones, to the ones on your textbook, that is fine with me. Okay, but at least in your assessment, you discussed these 5 tools: advertising, PR, public relations, personal selling, sales promotions, direct, and digital marketing. Okay. Now, where are the sponsorship and product placement? Well, sponsorship actually comes under public relations because we get them to create events and so on and so forth. And some other people say we should split the function of sponsorships and public relations, but some other experts, some other scholars put them into one group. Okay. What about the product placement? Well, some people say product placement should be part of the advertising campaign because it's essentially you expose your product using paid service, right? Okay, now let's have a look at them briefly one by one. Okay. All right, so that's the one that we just discussed briefly, right? The IMC or promotion. Hopefully, you're familiar when we use the term IMC or promotion. They are basically the same things, all right? Okay, now a bit of theory in our communication model. We have the sender, encoding, a message, the receiver, and media that we need to consider when it comes to communication model. Okay, and some other scholars suggest noise and also feedback as well to be part of the communication model. Okay, so the sender in here is basically the marketing team or the brand manager or the salesperson who sends the message to the party, and encoding in here is basically the process of translating ID, or in this instance objectives, communication objectives, for instance, into symbolic form. Okay, symbolic form such as advertising, what advertising format that you want to use. Okay, and message itself is the symbol that that we create to transfer the message for the receiver. Okay, now the receiver in here, actually in marketing communication concept, in marketing communication environment, actually refers to the customers, right? The target audience. And the media is the communication channel where we use it. So we use it to convey the message from the sender to receiver. And decoding is actually the process that our receiver performs to translate the message back, to translate the symbol back to meaning. Okay, so in the case of the communicator or the brand manager or the marketer, we encode. We do the encoding process. That means we translate the IDs or goals into symbols. And we put back the symbols, the receiver put back the symbols into meaning, okay? And feedback is actually part of the receiver's response. They communicate back to the sender, okay? In marketing communication, the feedback could be whether they understand it, okay? And the feedback could be whether they understand it, right? They understand the message, whether they like or not the message or not, and whether they want to purchase the product or not. Okay, so if you look at that, understand is actually related to cognitive level. Like or not is related to their effective level, and the last one, buy or not, is actually about the action or the behavior level. Okay. In other words, the the communication campaign here revolves around 3 levels in terms of getting impact, giving impact for customers. Okay. So to get them to understand it, to get them to like our message or not, to get them to buy our product or not. Okay. Well, in some instances, you may also find that the customers understand. Okay, I understand your message, understand your brand. That's your brand. Do I like the campaign? Yes, I do. I like the campaign. Do I want to buy it? No, I don't, because I don't need it. Okay, so we also need to consider that as well. Okay. Now, noise is another thing. Okay, noise is basically a disruption for the communicator to achieve the goal. Okay, disruption could be at the communicator, could be at any level. It could happen at the sender level. It could happen at the message. It could also the disruption may also happen in the media that we use, and also the target audience. Okay. So the purpose of the communicator is actually to reduce the noise. Therefore, they may repeat the message again on and on and on. That's the reason why we say communication in the context of marketing is a repetition, especially the context of marketing is repetition. Okay. Right, so that's basically a bit of diagram for those who like the diagram to understand the communication process. Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough. They may even look, if they repeat 3 times only, that's fantastic actually, because in some instances the salesman may repeat more than that. Okay, thanks a lot, Tracy. Thanks a lot. Okay. Okay. Now look. In terms of marketing communication itself, we also need to look at 2 things when we design the marketing communication campaign, aside from the tools. Okay, the message and the media. Okay, the message should may consider one of these styles, the rational appeal. Okay, so we offer the facts. And emotional appeal, we offer something more emotional, hook to the target audience's emotion through humor, fear, warmth, and so on and so forth, right? And moral appeal, which is basically about this is the right thing to do. Okay. And objective of the promotion could be anything in here, like awareness or stimulate demand, or product trial, or identify the prospects, basically to reduce the sales fluctuations eventually. Okay. All right, now let's have a look at the first tool, advertising. This is how we define advertising: paid non-personal communication about an organization and its products, all right, transmitted to the target audience through mass media. Okay. There is an argument about advertising in regards to the growing trend of digital media usage, where both marketers and also consumers use digital media, such as internet, for instance. Okay, and that has actually challenged Facebook, for instance, another one. But Facebook and the other digital media actually go into the direct marketing. But we also noticed that the advertising campaign may also benefit from the internet. So we place the advertising on the net, basically. Okay. Now it can be transmitted to non-target audience. So they challenge the term. Non-personal, because we can customize it to the audience. Okay, which audience that we talk about. Okay. Okay, so these are the steps in terms of developing an advertising campaign. Okay, identify the target audience, define the objectives, and create advertising platform, which is basically part of the creating the campaign strategy, including the media and also the message, until we execute the campaign and evaluate the effectiveness of the advertising campaign. Okay. Right, now this is another concept, target audience, which is basically a group of people that at whom advertisements are aimed. Okay, so that's target audience, which is actually slightly different to the term target market. Okay, target market is actually a group of people that we expect to be our customer or to buy our product. Okay, so these guys, in terms of target audience, we will expose our message to these guys. All right. Okay, now look. The other thing is that in terms of defining the advertising objectives, we normally define the objectives from our marketing objective. We look at the marketing objective, and then we cascade that to advertising objective. All right. So it has to be linked back to the marketing objective. All right. And the budget. And after that, we define the budgets to deliver the objectives. Okay. Now, in terms of budgeting, advertising budget, there are several approaches. A lot of scholars actually suggest these 4 approaches: percentage of sales approach, objective and task approach, competition matching approach, and the other one is arbitrary approach, which is basically another method that we can consider. Percentage of sales approach is basically quite popular among medium to large company because it is easy. You only need to look at your sales projection or last year's sales, and then you, based on the company's calculation, they define the advertising budget. Okay. Objective and task approach, they look at the objective of the marketing objective, they look at the advertising objective, and after that, to achieve the advertising objective, let's say to increase sales or to increase awareness or to achieve certain image, for instance, what the tasks are. Okay. And the next one is competition matching or competitive parity approach, which is basically reviewing the competitors' budgets, reviewing the competitors' campaign, and we match them. Okay? And the next one is determined by the high-level executive in the firm arbitrary approach. Okay. The other method that is not covered in your text is the affordability method, which is basically quite popular among small businesses, and they look at how much they can afford after they look at the sales revenue. Okay, they're pretty good in terms of understanding their own sales revenue. After they look at how much they have to spend for their costs, such as wages, utilities, rent, and so on and so forth, then the rest will go to advertising campaign. So that's the affordability approach. Okay? Now, you have a question here. Are companies open to their advertising costs? Okay. I believe your questions refer to if we want to match our competitors, how do we match them? If we in order to match their spend, we need to understand their spending. Okay. Well, broadly speaking, when companies are engaged in advertising campaign, very likely they are large businesses. Okay, and as large business, it is very likely for them to buy data. Okay, or to assign an advertising agency. Advertising agency normally subscribes to media spending, okay, including traditional media and also digital media. Okay, so based on that, the advertising agency will make recommendation. This is what your competitors have been spending. If they spend on home and away 2 spots, for instance, and also the Big Bang Theory or the Good Doctor program, for instance, X number of spots, they will advise the clients and they will make the proposal, they will make the recommendation. This is what we are recommended to do based on the budget, the objective, the budget that you describe to us. Okay, so to answer to your question, normally the advertising agency subscribes to the data to provide some insights for the client in making decision. Okay, have I answered your question? Okay, brilliant, thank you. Okay, now look, this is an interesting question. Okay, well, what do you think about this? What do you think? Do you think advertising is a function of sales, or are sales a function of advertising? Okay, right. Okay. You have to advertise to sell. Okay, fair enough. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. There are a couple of things I'd like to discuss in here. First, if you go back to the advertising method again, the budgeting method again, one of the budgeting method that is quite popular is percentage of sales. Okay, and it is quite popular because it is easy. You only need two figures, right? Your sales figures and also the percentage. Okay, let's say if your projection is $100 million. Okay, and from percentage perspective, you normally spend, let's say, 5%. So easy. That means your budget is $5 million. Okay, your budget is $5 million, right? Yep, you need to pass to do this. All right, fair enough. That's good. All right. Now, the other issue that that actually people discuss about this method is it refers to logic. Okay, as we discussed before, as you also mentioned before. Okay, what is the purpose of running advertising? Well, we advertise because we want to sell. Okay, or in other words, it is sales that we want to achieve, either increasing sales or either increasing sales or achieving certain sales target. Okay, now with that method that we just discussed, all right, it is like saying, hey, you need to sell something so you can advertise. So it is the opposite, right? It is the reverse way. All right, now let's have a look at it further. Advertising, sales. Yes, ultimately we want to sell. Okay, now let's ask ourselves, what does it mean? Okay, when we advertise, does it always mean we increase our sales? Okay, or in other words, we could also ask ourselves, when we when we watch TV, let's say watch a Homeway or whatever program that is, we ask ourselves whether we buy the product. Absolutely. We buy the product straight away. Well, probably not, as you also mentioned. Probably not, right? We may not buy the product straight away. Okay, we may not buy the product straight away because we may not need it, right? We may not need it. We have got our product already. Okay, that meets our need at the moment, right? We may not need it. Okay, that's the reason why we say that advertising is actually deliver what we call as pre-sale condition. Okay, what is the pre-sale condition? To increase awareness. Okay, to create certain image, to build certain image to the consumer's mind, and the other one is to influence consumer behavior. Okay, now that's basically the goals of advertisers, right? What kind of image that you want to build, what kind of awareness that you want to build, what percentage of awareness that you want to achieve, image, and also the behavior. All right. So that's basically advertising and sales. Okay. The second point, the second thing that we also need to briefly discuss is the media plan. Yeah. Well, we need to consider that as investment, actually, as you mentioned. Okay. Now, the other thing is that in terms of advertising, is the second thing is about the media that we need to consider. Okay. The media is the second piece of information that we need to look at, aside from the message. Okay, now we can look at newspaper, magazine, direct mail, radio. Okay, I'll leave it to you guys for your assessment. in terms of what media that you want to propose. If you can, in your promotional campaign, please specify what kind of media that you want to propose, okay? Right, TV, internet, and so on and so forth, okay? Now, internet, please move it to your direct digital marketing campaign, okay? I'm going to skip that, okay? And move to product placement. Look, product placement, if you look at TV program or movie, for instance, you find someone placing their product in the communication, then you are actually talking about the product placements, okay? You may recall that James Bond movie, for instance, there was one of the footage that I recall is the conversation between James Bond and Eva Green, and they talk about James Bond's watch at the time. Okay, so that's kind of product placement. Okay? And in certain reality TV show, they may also find the a product placed on the judges, for instance, in the case of Dancing with the Star or whatever it is. Okay, so that's a product placement. Okay. The next one is public relations. Public relations actually to create the goodwill of the company among the stakeholders, and you can use public relations activities to create a favorable reputation. Okay. And how do they do that? They create events. They create, they run any sponsorship and the other activities to create the events that the journalists will write them, favorable message for the audience. Okay. So the tools that they can use would include the press release, okay, or event, as mentioned before, to create news for the journalists to write. Okay. And there are some issues that public relations team can consider in terms of news releases. Okay. So that's basically PR, and sponsorship. You can also consider using sponsorship. Now, the other thing is personal selling. Personal selling may be labeled differently by companies. Some companies call them as salesperson team. The other company might call them as account management team or marketing executive team, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's personal selling. Okay, essentially they do sales job. Now, in the olden days, sales job actually focuses on selling. Okay, in today's marketing landscape, salesman, the task of a salesman actually to build relationship as well. Okay, and the beauty of sales, personal selling is the interaction. If you look at the advertising campaign, it is the personalized using mass media. But in the case of personal selling team, we personalize it so we can have a better interaction. Okay, because of that, we can also get our sales person to give the demonstration on certain product, for instance. Okay, and explain complicated message for the audience because it is more face to face. It is more personal rather than using advertising campaign. Okay, and because of these characteristics, then companies actually consider which one they need to focus on: advertising or personal selling in terms of communication. Right? If their business has little number of customers, okay. And they need to explain complicated product, then they're going to focus their marketing dollars on personal selling. Okay? If you refer to business marketers, for instance, they may use a more personal selling team rather than advertising. In terms of advertising, they still run advertising campaign. Yes, they do. They may have product catalog, for instance, and so on and so forth. But a lot of dollars go to the personal selling team. Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip that. Now let me just go to sales promotion, and after that we briefly discuss about the direct digital marketing, and we discuss the assessments. Okay, sales promotion. is actually a short-term incentive that that marketers provide to increase sales for their business. Okay, so it is a short-term incentive. Why short-term? Because if you keep giving the that promotion, then it is not unique anymore. Okay, so you need to think about that. Okay, a number of tools in here, including coupons, refunds, frequent flyers, loyalty programs, and so on and so forth, samples, premiums, right? Discounts, okay? They are part of the sales promotional tools, right? Now, in markets like Australia, the sales promotional activities have gained stronger momentum because the market out there is so competitive, so that marketers need to think about different ways to stand out in the clutteredness. Yep, that's actually a good point, Tracy. From customer perspective, sales promotion with sales promotion, customers feel they are wise in terms of spending the money. They get more value because of the sales promotional activities. Okay, so from both sides, the marketers and also the consumers, sales promotion basically give benefits. Okay, now what about the well, some people argue that sales promotional activities may erode the brand equity because we are kind of educating the customers to buy when the product when it is on special. Okay, therefore, some experts suggest, well, don't do reconsider the special price. They recommend to build the sales promotional activities linked to the brand value. Okay, so if your brand stands for premium, for instance, you can build the customers' loyalty around the premiumness, for instance. And if you look at some brands such as McDonald's, they also build the. If you look at a Happy Meal, for instance, they run the promotional campaign through toys, giving toys for kids, for instance. That actually involves work with the filmmakers and also merchandise makers, right, to work together in terms of building joint forces. Okay, so that's an example in terms of what they call as a franchise building of promotional activities. So it is linked back to the advertising. So it is linked back to the brand equity. Okay, right. So that's promotion. So you can consider trade promotion. You can consider which is basically aimed at trades, and consumer promotion aimed at consumers, and the other one is sales force promotion. So you give incentive for sales force, basically. Okay. Any questions so far, Tracy? Okay, good. If you don't have any questions, what I will do is I'm going to oops. I'm going to discuss the next one, which is basically, hang on a second. I have to stop the recording now. Yep, part 2. I have to stop the recording. Hang on a second. Oops. Where are my tools? Okay. Can I suggest we come back to the same spot, because I need to, anyway, we need to repeat this. We may run out of our 40 minutes anyway. So let's stop this session, and we'll come back to this meeting by clicking the same link. I'll prepare my second PowerPoint slides. Okay. Sorry about that.